SportsCrit Lab. SportsCrit Lab. Interrogate, liberate, that's the plan. Yeah, SportsCrit Lab. SportsCrit Lab. For every parent, coach, and fan.
Welcome back, everybody, to the SportsCrit Lab. My name is Dr. Gyasmine George-Williams. The people call me Dr. G. I'm the brains, the beauty, and the voice behind SportsCrit. I'm a professor of race, sport, and social justice. And you know what? My work lives at the intersection of sport, media, culture, labor, and power. And around here, the SportsCrit Lab, we don't just watch sports, good people. We read them. We expose the game that's hidden in plain sight. So this episode is produced by She Shed Productions, the creative home of SportsCrit Collective, where scholarship, storytelling, and resistance meet to disrupt dominant narratives in the sports and culture and society. All right, so today we're breaking down the biggest labor stories. This is our part 2 as we dissected before the WNBA and the Players Association came up with an agreement with regards to the collective bargaining agreement. So now that they have one, we're going to go ahead and analyze it through our what? SportsCrit lens. If you've been rocking and rolling with me, you know that there are 9 tenets of the SportsCrit framework, created, produced by moi. And throughout the semester, we have utilized various tenets to break down certain stories and case stories. And today is unlike no other. Part 1, we talked about interest convergence and what were the 4 conditions in interest convergence that takes place in order for some sort of needle to move, in order for those with power that can actually change the game. It's essentially what's in it for me. And so there are 4 conditions, and we'll do a little recap right there. Go ahead and pull the slide up, Titus, if you don't mind. The 4 conditions that takes place in interest convergence when there is a needle that's moved. So we'll circle back to it, but for now, we're going to introduce 2 more tenets of SportsCrit throughout these 2 lenses, the WNBA and now the current collective bargaining agreement. All right, so we're not just going to tell it like it is. CBA is not just paperwork; it's the economic rule book of the league. So today we're going to do 3 things. How many? 3 things. First, we're going to make sure everyone has a solid understanding of what the collective bargaining agreement actually is. That's number 1. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to see what changed in the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement that's going to be enforced over the next 7 years. And third, we're going to analyze this through our SportsCrit lens, particularly 2 tenets that we are going to center. Justice is historic, present, and futuristic, and spectatorship is power. And honestly, y'all, these past 17 months that the WNBA and the players have been in negotiation, it's not just a basketball story, it's a labor story, a gender story, a racial story, a media story, and frankly, it's a story about what happens when women don't give up their power and they know their worth. Ow! All right, so here we go. First segment, really quick. Okay, go ahead and get your iPads and doodads, knickknacks, and paddywhacks. I hope you have your SportsCrit composition book. Okay, collective bargaining agreement, CBA. This is a legally binding contract, okay, between a professional sports league and its players' union. It determines working conditions, salaries, travel conditions, benefits, revenue sharing, free agency rules, housing, retirement, parental protections, medical care, all of it. In plain language, the CBA is really the terms of employment for professional athletes. So in the WNBA, good people, the players are represented by a players association, Women's National Basketball Players Association. Zing! The union exists because athletes are not just performers. We know that. They're not just performers, they're workers. Highly visible workers, yes. Glamorous workers sometimes, but they're workers, okay? And that's something that we have to continue to harken back on, this heightened visibility of these women. We feel like we know them personally, we know someone like them, we see ourselves in them. But at the end of the day, collective bargaining agreement, it is something that has been working with the players and the union, okay? So a professional league has always had this type of built-in tension. Owners control the league, but it's really the players that make the heartbeat. They're the product. Without the athletes, there's no game, no broadcast, no jerseys, no ticket sales, no commercials, no growth, no cute social media reels, you know what I mean? None of that, okay? None of it. And so without athletes, there's no game. With no broadcast and no revenue. This is why the collective bargaining agreement matters, y'all. They are where labor confronts ownership and asks the oldest question. If we built this, why aren't we being paid like it? So how on earth did we get here? So let's move into history. If we want to understand how the WNBA, the CBA, why that matters, we can't act as if the story started yesterday. Justice has a memory, okay? SportsCrit insists on that. And we're going to open up these tenets. My pleasure. So the WNBA was founded in, oh my God, the night, I saw my bullet point and it said the 1900s. I'm like, well, technically. Anyway, in the 1990s, 1997, young Dr. G, a whippersnapper. I mean, I am in high school and I'm like, a professional league and there's a team in LA. Okay. But it was founded in the 1990s. First tip-off game was in 1997. And so women have always had to compete, right, with the conditions of underinvestment, media visibility. Remember that, trope of, no one watches women's sports. Women's sports is boring and simply structural disrespect, right? And so women athletes have historically faced underinvestment, right? And so you need money in order for operations to really flourish and to be able to invest in said investment. The players, limited financial support, and even, invisibility. But let's talk numbers. So in 2025, the WNBA salary cap was $1.5 million for an entire roster. That's for an entire roster. Let's just stop and pause there really quick. Meanwhile, the NBA cap for an entire roster exceeds $140 million. The 2025 WNBA Supermax was roughly $249,000, while top men's salaries were in the tens of millions. This gap is not just about market, it is about who is seen as historically valuable, okay? Who's been marketed, invested in, and imagined as worthy of a spectacle and of competition. And that history is deeply, deeply ingrained in gender and race. Misogynoir, if you will. The majority of the WNBA players are Black and or African Americans. When we talk about this undervaluing of women, we're not just speaking in abstract. We're talking specifically. We're keeping it a buck, 100, keeping the main thing a main thing, even when they don't want to, right? This is the devaluation of Black women's labor, Black women's athletic brilliance, and Black women's cultural protection. And so this is where the first tenet of SportsCrit comes into play. Justice is historical, it's present, and it's futuristic. This moment didn't come out of anywhere. It built on decades of being told, just play for the love of the game. Just be happy that you're here. Be grateful for the visibility. You do have one game on ABC, but do more with less and carry the league, but don't expect the league to carry you. And the women of the WNBA just kept pushing. Diana Taurasi has a Prime Video series right now, and it really talks about the very interesting time in WNBA history when she stepped on the scene and the ways in which there is more visibility. I really don't think she truly understand how much of a goat, how much of a phenom Diana Taurasi is. I know, okay? I know. She shot my idols off. When my high school team, when we played against her, right? But I think I got 10 on her, you know what I mean? I think she was probably taking a bathroom break right when she did that. But the question I have for you, my SportsCrit scholars, why do we often talk about women's sports growth as if talent appeared suddenly? They've always been there. They've always been them dogs. The second question is, what role did history, media neglect, and gender ideology, remember the box that women are put in, let alone Black women, let alone Black queer women, let alone queer women, let alone all women, what boxes are they put in, these gender ideologies, and how did it play in suppressing the value of the WNBA? We'll be right back. Welcome to the SportsCrit Vocab Lab. Okay, so let's give you some key terms fans should understand before we move over and really get into the nitty-gritty of the WNBA Collective Bargaining Agreement. Let's go. Revenue sharing. All right. Revenue sharing determines which portion of the league income goes to the players. That income can include media rights, sponsorships, ticket sales, and merchandise. The bigger the share, the more athletes benefit when the league grows. Revenue share. Next term, salary cap. Salary cap is the maximum total amount of that a team can spend on player salaries. It's usually presented as a tool for competitive balance. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a tool for limiting labor costs. Both can be true though. Salary cap. Supermax salary. What is that? The supermax is the highest individual salary a player can be paid under this agreement. The supermax. It just sounds like they be adding. You know what it makes me? It makes me HBO Plus, HBO Max, Max and them, plus and minus HBO multiplication, all the extra. Anyway, supermax salary. It tells you what the league thinks that elite talent is worth, or what they are willing to admit they are worth. Sidebar. Remember that interlude from Solange when Master P was talking about that this record exec wanted to give him like $2 million for No Limit? And he said, man, get the hell out of here. Because he knew that this dude in power, right, who happened to identify with whiteness, if this person in power is giving you $2 million just out the gate, he knows that you are worth 20, 30, 40, 50 million. Woo, super max, or what they're willing to, you know what? I wonder if we can find a way to, will I get sued? I'm not going to play. But go into the Solange where Master P talks about No Limit. Okay. Player benefits. The next term, player benefits. Now, these consider, healthcare, maternity protections, child care support, medical resources, retirement conditions, housing, travel conditions. These aren't extras, y'all. This isn't the diva package. Okay. These are the infrastructure of dignity. Yeesh. Free agency, next term. Free agency determines when players can choose where they want to play rather than being locked into team control. Okay? More free agency generally means more bargaining power for athletes. Now, here's the thing. The WNBA women, they are brilliant because they knew of the deadline of the CBA. And all those superstars decided not to lock in with their team. So there are about 70 free agents. That's, they got to figure out, they got to go somewhere. Some really big wig folks that may not be on your favorite team anymore. Next term, charter flights. Charter flights are private flights for teams. The NBA's been doing this a long time ago. NBA players spent years flying commercial. Dealing with layovers, they up in Southwest with me and Aaron because we did a turnaround trip to Vegas. And I'm like, what's she doing? She tall. She in the WNBA, okay? Travel conditions that made it just really, that this professional league just really sound like a joke when someone would tell you this to their face, right? Once again, charter flights. This is a right to frame this as a labor dignity issue. So, once again, key terms: revenue sharing, salary cap, super max salary, player benefits, free agency, and charter flights. And this has been another SportsCrit Lab vocab edition. So we're going to talk about the 17-month-long negotiation, standoff, whatever you want to call it. October 2nd, 2024, WNBA, the players exercise this opt-out clause, right, from the 2020 Collective Bargaining Agreement. Once again, part one, the previous episode, I highly recommend y'all watching the Prime Video documentary, Power of a Dream. Show the thumbnail. it broke down the historical things that was offered and was accepted in the 2020 collective bargaining agreement, but so much has passed. And well, just as I said in part 1 of the podcast episode, as we examine the WNBA, when we're looking at progress is made when power gets paid. Okay, convergence. So what matters, good people, is this historical deal can make things sound very clean and celebratory. And well, yes, it's all about radical joy. We must continue to put on our SportsCrit lens and engage in radical and critical analysis. So it's usually not about labor, per se. Labor fights get very messy, and it's about value. Who gets to say what is valuable, who are valuable, and what types of things that these products bring to the table that can be extracted as value. All right, so they were tense. They revealed the fault lines in value. And that's something that I really think is important, because you really see what the league, what ownership, what the executives see as valuable, what they're willing to give. Remember the four negotiations, the 4 conditions of interest convergence really shows itself. The players wanted a greater share of the revenue. They have brought this visibility, and all of the players, not just one, they brought these beautiful droves of fans. OG's been there since day one, but then we have kids and there's a whole generation of young men and young boys who see the power and see the value. And so they're like, they want a greater share in the revenue. They wanted higher salaries, better benefits, stronger travel conditions, housing protections, also retirement and family planning and maternity and paternity leave, and relief from restrictive control, right? These core mechanisms and designations and franchise tags. They wanted more control and autonomy because they earned it, right? And here, this is what I want students to recognize. And if they're thinking this, pull back and let's see how we can really unpack it. These weren't diva demands. These were labor demands, good people. These weren't dignity demands. No. These were demands of workers who knows the league, knows their fans, and refuse to get left behind to the very growth that they made possible. Okay? So we have to first give a shout out. And when I mean shout out, I'm talking the rooftops. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, the leaders of this collective bargaining agreement, which I think Nneka, is going to be, Nneka Gumake is going to be a WNBA commissioner very soon. We got to get Kathy out. But anyway, we have to give a shout out to Nneka, the president of the Players Association, Breanna Stewart, Alicia Clark. These are OGs, Nafisa Collier, Terry Carmichael Jackson. She was kind of the mouthpiece that would go in there and speak, with them. And they were the main negotiators, right? That collective action is not decorative, baby. It's mechanism of change. So when we get back, we're going to talk the minutia of what changed in the deal and why on earth is this so historic. Be right back. Thanks for chilling with me, SportsCrit Lab. So yeah, let's give that team and that crew of just brilliant negotiators, women who stood all the way on this. Get into it. What changed? What changed with the new agreement, the new collective bargaining agreement? So major shifts in economics, right, when it came to women's sports. But as we're talking specifically about the WNBA, rising ratings, sold out arenas, broadcasting deals, increased cultural visibility, and players insisting their compensation reflected that growth. I mean, what's you don't see the problem with it? Bueller. All right, so let's give you the details, right? And we're going to pull up some nice little infographic. Don't you worry, we got you going. The salary cap rises from 1.5 million to 7 million. Okay, so remember, we did our definition. Salary cap means the cap amount you can spend on a player. So that is huge. 1.5 million to 7 million. This is for the whole team, right? Supermax salary goes from roughly 249K to 1.4 million. Okay. Supermax, the average salary. This is what we're talking about, taking care of all the tiers of the ball players. We're not just talking about the ones that are making a cajillion bucks, not necessarily from their salary, but different deals. We're talking about the minimum salary range. Now, the rookie salary, Caitlin Clark she was the number 1 draft pick. She got like $76,000, right? So the minimum salary was around $66,000, $70,000. It is more than $300K, the minimum. And you get to play a sport you love. Are you serious? $300K. Okay, players move from approximately 9.3 of the gross revenue. Do y'all remember we talked about that in part 1? They gave them 9%. Okay, in the previous structure, but now how much do they get? 20%. Remember, we want the growth. Give me the loot, 20%. Charter flights are now systemic, right? NBA have been doing this for decades now. Charter flights. They don't have to sit in the back of the Southwest flights with me and Aaron because we going to Vegas real quick. What they doing? And he said, what you doing on the plane with us? No longer an issue, okay? Charter flights are codified. Housing remains, right? So housing protections for expanded retirements, right? For those. One thing that I thought was really dope is that a team has to get permission from a player to trade them if they're on maternity leave. Woo! My former institution really kind of dogged me out. I was offered and promised a leadership position and they gave it to somebody else while I was on maternity leave. Moving on, medical support and recognition of retired players. Former players got a one-time stipend, but they got a piece of this too. They built it. They built the foundation. They built the bricks. We built this city on WNBA. It's not a cute little cosmetic change. It's structural. That's what SportsCrit does. We look at the structures. We look at the systems and what these women fought for. It's not perfect change. It's not complete change, but it's real change. So let's get into it. This is where we shift into the second half of the SportsCrit analysis. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about you. Spectatorship as power. Okay, good people, get your iPads and doodads and knickknacks and all of it. Get that SportsCrit composition book out right now. I would like to introduce you to the first tenet that we will be unpacking, the Collective Bargaining Agreement. And with regards to the WNBA is Spectatorship is Power. I'm talking about you, I'm talking about me, and the power that the spectators had. Woo! Spectatorship is not passive, good people. Fans drive the broadcasting, social media, league legitimacy, you understand? When people watch something, why they watch it, who they're sharing it to, the games, it all increases in value, right? And this strengthens players' bargaining power. Social media is, once again, I always say it, social media can be used for good, not rubbish, I promise you. But here's something that we must know. This is exactly right. Crowds, not neutral. Ratings, not neutral. The player stance, not neutral. Things going viral, not neutral. Media attention, not neutral. But, who gets watched determines who gets invested in. And that's the real cute thing about fools still saying people don't watch women's sports. What the fuck you on? Who gets watched determines who gets invested in. They're watching. We're watching. Okay? Who gets paid determines what future becomes possible. This is why spectatorship is power. Listen, we're at the house. I'm in the she shed right now. Okay, I'm doing my thing. I got a TV on right now. I got March Madness on right now. I'm trying real hard to not look over there as we're recording. We got about a couple TVs in there. I know Aaron's holding it down with the kids, but he got March Madness on right now. We're watching. Spectatorship is power. But SportsCrit, well, we demand that we take it a step further and we ask, who was always there? Long before the mainstream decided women's basketball was worthy of some sort of obsession, Black women and Black players have always been there. As a matter of fact, we were the foundation of the league. Hell, but we have to understand, good people, and most importantly, when it comes to SportsCrit, we have to really interrogate how spectatorship is racialized. What stories gets amplified? Whose bodies become marketable? Whose arrival was framed as transformative, even though the foundation had been built decades prior by foundation It's not just creative, but it's the revenue that builds from that spectatorship and the power that you and I have. It creates narratives. It tells us who the public thinks is legitimate, who's lovable, and who's profitable. You know that. But sometimes visibility arrives in distortion. Sometimes the crowd shows up late. Welcome to the party. We've been here. Sit down and know your place. Todd, how have you, as either the avid fan, casual fan, or you just got locked in with the WNBA negotiations, how have you been engaging with the collective bargaining agreement, and how did you shape the power that the players had?